My name is Ida Wiles, and I am 28. For the last 5 years, I have measured my weeks by the warmth of a porch light. Sundays at 5, Grandma Gianna's door glowing like a small sun at the end of the block, groceries in my arms, her laughter on the other side, a ritual that made the rest of the world, lost mothers, tight budgets, unfinished dreams, quiet down. The Sunday the light burned, but the door didn't open. The whole street sounded different, like someone had turned down the birds and turned up the wind. I knocked again, balancing a brown paper bag against my hip. Nona, it's me. Footsteps. A pause. The chain slid, but the door didn't. When it finally cracked, I saw one thing first, the fear. It flickered over her face and vanished just as quickly, the way a fish breaks the surface and disappears. I'm tired, she said, voice gravelly. Come next week. I smiled the way you smile at a thundercloud, pretending it isn't dark. I brought you the chamomile you like, and the sugar-free biscotti. Her hand trembled on the chain. Leave it there. I set the bag down. Inside were the small proofs of love, labeled pill packs, scratch-off notes with doctor appointment reminders, the teal scarf she always misplaces. Before I could say anything, the door closed, chain rattling into place like a verdict. I stood on the stoop for a full minute, shoulder pressed to the wood, listening. Her steps moved away. The TV murmured. The clock in the hallway chimed the hour. Everything normal except the part where she sent me away like a stranger. Back in my car, I called Lucas. He answered on the second ring, voice soft with concern. Hey, Ida, you good? She wouldn't let me in. A beat of silence. Did something happen? I don't know. She looked scared of me. He exhaled, the sound a warm hand over ice. Maybe she didn't sleep. Maybe she's fighting a cold. Maybe, I said, but the word felt thin. Lucas offered to drive over, to take me for pho, to sit with me until I stopped replaying the moment. I told him I'd be okay. I wasn't. The week stretched rubber tight. By Friday, I'd convinced myself the whole thing was a blip. I baked lemon bars the way Grandma taught me, zesting with care, remembering how she used to flick sugar at my nose and say, Life is sour, Piccolina. We add what sweetness we can. On Sunday, I went back. She opened the door only wide enough to let her words through. How could you, Ida? I forgot the lemon bars. How could I what? Her eyes shone, not with love, with injury. I know what you're planning. I won't go. Do you hear me? I am not a piece of furniture to be moved. The world tipped. Nona, I don't understand. You will not put me in a home. There was a tremor of fury in her voice I'd never heard, the kind of tremor that says the ground you trusted has been hollowed out. I would never... The door clicked shut. Not a slam, a decision. I pressed my forehead to the frame and tried to rearrange the puzzle pieces of her words into something that made sense. They didn't. When I turned, Mrs. Patterson from next door was pretending to trim the hydrangea, her eyes flicking to me and away. Everything all right, dear? She asked without looking. What did you hear? She lowered the clippers. Eden's car's been here a lot. That's all I know. Eden. My older sister. The city girl who orbited holidays and posted polished photos, always in motion, always swamped. She could charm a room and forget to call back for months. I never resented it. I chose to be here, to be proximity and errands and small kindnesses. We were not enemies. We were gravity and satellite. Different orbits, same sky. On the drive home, I called Eden. She picked up on speaker, city noise swarming behind her. Hey, she said, bright. What's up? Nana wouldn't let me in. She said I'm trying to put her in a home. Eden made a small noise. Maybe she's finally seeing who you really are. The sentence didn't sound like a joke. My stomach went cold. What is that supposed to mean? But the line was already full of silence. She had hung up. My phone screen mirrored back my own confusion. That night, I laid out everything like evidence. The pill organizers, the appointment receipts, the dented tin where she kept her sewing needles. I had always avoided the money talk, her will, her house, the old heirlooms she held like prayers. She once tried to bring it up, and I laughed it off, told her she had decades. We cooked instead. We pretended time couldn't hear us. Now time was banging on the door. At 2 a.m., the kitchen smelled like lemon and sleeplessness. Lucas sat on the counter, legs swinging, watching me not eat. Say it out loud, he said. He's the kind of man who believes naming a fear makes it smaller. She thinks I want to lock her up so I can sell her house, I whispered. The words felt dirty just touching the air. Lucas shook his head. That's not you. Everyone knows that. Everyone except the one person who matters. I stared at the lemon bars. Eden's been visiting. A lot. Maybe she's helping. Maybe, I said again, and the word fractured. Lucas hesitated. Sophie mentioned Eden at the brokerage this week. He winced at saying his ex's name. Our history made it awkward, but this was not jealousy. This was data. Apparently, Eden was pulling recent comps on your grandma's street. Just curious, she said. I looked at him. Comps? Could be nothing, he added quickly. Could be professional habit. Or it could be the smell of gasoline before a match. I hardly slept. On Monday, I went back at noon, telling myself daylight would make things softer. It didn't. When Grandma finally opened, she was trembling. How could you do this to me? She asked, voice low and hoarse. Do what? I felt like I was begging through glass. Her chin lifted with stubborn dignity. I won't sign anything you send me. I won't go. I'm not sending you anything. Nona, look at me. I pressed my palm to my chest. It's me. For a moment, something cracked. The old recognition showed in her eyes. My face when I cried at 8, my voice when I sang along to the radio at 13, my hand steadying hers as we frost a cake. Then the moment closed. Go, she said, and then, softer, like it hurt her to use the word, Elise. I stepped back. She closed the door very gently this time, as if roughness might bruise us both. On the porch, I noticed a sheet of paper peeking from under the welcome mat where her mail sometimes slid. I bent to pick it up, an email printout, creased from folding. The font looked wrong. The sender address looked almost like mine, but not quite. Ida Willison with one extra L. The subject line read, Inquiry, Long-Term Care Availability. My skin went cold. The contents were worse. Polite, clinical questions about costs, timelines, wait lists, signed with my name. I didn't ring the bell again. I didn't shout. I walked back to my car, feeling like the ground was moving, as if the street itself had unhooked from the town and started to drift. In the rearview mirror, I watched the curtains part and a small, familiar face peer out, wary and wounded. At home, I spread the printout on the table and traced the letters with my finger like a crime scene tech. The L doubled in my last name. The timestamp, a nursing home I'd never heard of. I took photos, my hands shaking. Evidence of a lie, dresses like the truth. It wears your shoes, knows your habits, uses your name. Lucas put a hand on my shoulder. We'll fix it. How? We start by watching, he said, and listening. That night, I parked 2 blocks away and waited. At 9:58 a.m. the next morning, Eden turned onto the street, her car purring like a cat that had already eaten. She carried a tote bag heavy with corners. Paper? Folders? I watched her disappear into the house I've vacuumed, the kitchen I've stocked, the couch where my grandmother and I watched old game shows on low volume so the puzzles felt like ours alone. The porch light was off, but I swear I could still see it, a phantom sun burning behind the glass. I hit record on my phone. If the truth was being smothered, I would learn how to breathe for it. When the lie finally spoke out loud, it came dressed in my voice. That Tuesday morning, the sun was too bright for the things I was about to hear. From where I was parked down the street, Grandma's living room window was open just enough for sound to spill through. I crept closer, phone recording, the wind carrying fragments of conversation like torn paper. I told you, Nona. Eden's tone was syrup-sweet, practiced. She was calling around, getting quotes from nursing homes. I didn't want to believe it either. Grandma's voice was small, tremulous. But my Ida, she wouldn't... She did, Eden interrupted softly, the way you comfort a child into surrender. I found the emails. She used her work computer. Look. I dared a glance. Through the lace curtain, I saw Eden holding a stack of printed pages. My name at the bottom of each one. The fake address with the doubled L. Grandma's hand shook as she turned the papers over. But she's been helping me for years. Eden sighed, pure martyr. Money changes people, Nonna. Maybe she didn't mean to. Maybe it started with good intentions. You know how she's been struggling lately. A lie so complete it carried its own body heat. I pressed record harder against the wall, as if sound could bleed truth into my phone faster. She's been talking to realtors too, Eden continued. Sophie heard her at the office last week asking about market rates for single-family homes in this neighborhood. Said she wanted to get out before the market dips. Sophie. Of course. Lucas's ex-girlfriend, Eden's new ally. The circle tightening. Grandma sniffled. I don't understand. That's why I came. Eden said, voice softening like a velvet trap. To protect you. I won't let anyone force you out, I promise. But you need to make sure your affairs are safe. Safe? Your will, Nona. You said you wanted to update it, just in case. You can leave the house to me for now, so no one can take it from you. If Ida really loves you, she'll understand. Silence. Then the sound of a sob muffled by wrinkled hands. I wanted to burst in. I wanted to scream until the walls themselves admitted the truth. But Lucas's words echoed in my head. We start by watching. So I stayed hidden. I recorded every word, every poison drop. When Eden left, she hugged Grandma on the porch. I watched her tuck the fake emails neatly into her tote bag before sliding on her sunglasses, mirror lenses that caught my reflection for half a second. Did she see me? I waited an hour, then I went to the door. Grandma opened it a crack. Her eyes were swollen. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, just 5 minutes. Reluctantly, she let me in. The air smelled like lavender and worry. The fake emails lay scattered on the coffee table like dropped feathers. Nona, those aren't from me. My voice trembled, but I forced it steady. Someone's trying to hurt us. Ida, please. I have proof. I pulled out my phone, opened the recording. Eden's voice filled the room, sweet and poisonous, telling lie after lie in real time. Grandma's face went from confusion to horror. Her fingers fluttered to her throat. That's Eden's voice. Yes, but she said you... She lied. For a long moment, she just stared at me. Tears welled, but so did something else. Doubt. A shadow that wouldn't leave. How do I know you didn't fake this too? Like she said you faked the emails. The words hit like cold metal. Nona, please, call the nursing homes, the realtor, verify the addresses. You'll see they're fake. She looked away. I need time to think. At least she let me hug her before I left, though her body was stiff, unyielding. The same arms that once rocked me through fever now hovered between fear and memory. 3 days later, I called Eden. She didn't answer. My text, I know what you're doing, was met with one line. Grandma deserves to know the truth about your intentions. No shame, no fear, just calm arrogance. By Friday, I was sitting in a lawyer's office, explaining everything. He listened, expression unreadable, then said carefully, until she takes or transfers assets, it's not technically fraud. You need more proof. Proof. I had hours of Eden's words, but not the fingerprints on the lies. That night, Lucas and I combed through every possible lead. Email headers, domain registries, nursing home contact logs. Nothing pointed to Eden. She'd covered her tracks perfectly. The next week, I returned to Grandma's with a folder of clean bank statements, phone logs, work schedules, anything that showed I'd never contacted a realtor or nursing home. She let me in this time. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where she used to cut cookie dough into perfect circles. I laid everything out in careful rows like offerings. See, no emails, no calls, no transfers. She studied them, eyes glistening. I don't understand any of this. I know, but you know me. I reached across the table. You raised me, Nona. You know my heart. Her fingers brushed mine. Eden said you're angry, that you feel left behind. I'm angry that she's lying to you. The clock ticked between us. She looked so small, folded into her cardigan, surrounded by paperwork she couldn't trust. Finally, she whispered, Maybe I made a mistake. For the first time in weeks, I felt air return to the room. It's okay. We'll fix this together. But I should have pushed harder. I should have made her call the lawyer that day. Because Eden wasn't done. 2 days later, Grandma called sobbing, accusing me of putting cameras in her house. What? I shouted. I found one in the flower vase you gave me. I froze. I hadn't given her any vase. Eden's voice rose faintly in the background. See, Nona? I told you she's watching you. That was the moment I realized Eden didn't just want the house. She wanted my grandmother's mind. Fractured, frightened, and entirely hers. When the police arrived, Eden was already on the porch with her practiced tremble, saying, We're just scared. Ida's been harassing her. The officers looked at me like I was the villain. Grandma didn't contradict her. Maybe give it a few days, one of them said. Let things calm down. So I left. Outside, the porch light flickered again, as if trying to decide who it belonged to. That night, I drove until dawn, the recording still playing on repeat. Eden's voice, warm, persuasive, merciless. You can trust me, Nona. I'll protect you. The kind of lie that kills slowly without ever raising its voice. The next 2 weeks felt like drowning in air. Everything looked normal, but every breath hurt. Grandma's number still sat in my favorites list. I called every morning at 9, every night at 7, straight to voicemail. The recorded message, "Leave a message, my sunshine," hit like a knife twist each time. Eden had moved into the house temporarily, or so Mrs. Patterson said, for Grandma's safety. The words carried that suburban politeness that hides rot beneath. Safety from what? From me, the girl who spent 5 years driving her to appointments, replacing light bulbs, and labeling her medications. Lucas tried to help me stay grounded. He cooked dinners, watched over me like I might fracture if left alone. But even he couldn't stop the slow unraveling of my patience. "I can't just sit here while she rewrites reality," I said one night, pacing the apartment. "You can't storm over there again," he replied. "That's exactly what Eden wants, to make you look unstable." "She's already doing that." Lucas hesitated. "Sophie told me something." My stomach tightened. "What now?" "She said Eden's been bringing people into the office, talking about urgent property filings, something about a deed transfer. Sophie swore she wasn't involved, but it sounded bad." I stopped moving. "She's transferring Grandma's house?" "She can't, not yet. Not unless Grandma signs something." I thought of the notary Mrs. Patterson mentioned, the unfamiliar cars in the driveway, the way Eden's tote bag bulged with folders that day. "Then she's making sure she does." 2 days later, I got a call from Dr. Alvarez, Grandma's longtime physician. "Ida," he said gently, "your grandmother was brought in yesterday by your sister. Eden asked me to do a cognitive evaluation. Said your grandmother's been confused lately." "Confused?" "She seemed distressed but perfectly lucid, just scared. I asked if she felt safe. She said yes, then looked at Eden before answering." I closed my eyes. "Can you stop Eden from pushing anything?" "I can't intervene unless there's clear neglect or danger," he said quietly. "But I'm making notes, for the record." For the record. The phrase was both comfort and curse. Records took time. Eden worked fast. I hired a lawyer, Mr. Linton, who specialized in elder abuse cases. He was kind but blunt. "Ida, until money moves or power of attorney changes hands, the law's hands are tied. She's using influence, not theft. You need evidence of coercion." "She's isolating her," I said. "Isn't that enough?" "Not legally." Eden knew the rules. She played just under them. By the end of the month, Grandma had a private nurse, a pale woman named Cassandra, who answered the door like a security guard. When I tried to visit, she said gently, "Mrs. Wiles isn't seeing visitors today." "She's my grandmother." "I understand, but she needs rest." I saw movement in the hallway, the faintest glimpse of Eden's silhouette. She didn't come out. She didn't need to. The nurse's stance said everything. So I waited in the car until nightfall, watched shadows through the blinds, watched strangers come and go. A man in a gray suit with a briefcase, a woman with a clipboard, someone carrying rolled-up blueprints. They stayed for hours. By the time the porch light flicked off, my body was numb from sitting still. I drove home with the image burned in my brain. Eden standing in the doorway, head bent toward a man's shoulder as he gestured with a pen, signing something. Lucas wanted me to rest. Instead, I built timelines. I pinned receipts, phone calls, every interaction Eden had with Grandma since the first fake email. My apartment walls looked like a detective show cliché. Red strings, scribbled arrows, dates circled in red. At 2 a.m, Lucas stood in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. "You're scaring me, Ida." "I'm scared too," I said simply. He walked over and took the pushpin from my hand. "You can't fix this overnight." "I know, but she's doing something. I can feel it." "You can't let her destroy you too." "I already lost Grandma once," I whispered. "I'm not losing her again to paperwork." A week later, my phone rang. Mrs. Patterson again, her voice trembling. "Sweetheart, there were men here this morning. Suits. One of them had a badge. They were carrying boxes out of your grandmother's house." My heart dropped. "Boxes?" "Documents, I think. Eden said they were appraisal files. I saw a notary seal on one of the folders. Appraisal. Documents. The house." "Did you see Grandma?" "No, honey. She's barely come outside lately. Eden told me she's too weak for visitors." I thanked her, hung up, and sat motionless for a full minute. Then I grabbed my coat. Lucas called as I drove. "Where are you going?" "To make sure she's still alive." "Ida, I'm done waiting." The porch light was off when I arrived. I knocked once, twice. No answer. Cassandra finally opened the door 2 inches. "Ida," she said quietly, "you can't be here." "I just want to see her." "She's resting." "Then I'll wait." She hesitated. "Please, you're making this harder." "For who?" That's when I saw it. A small camera, mounted above the doorway. the kind you buy in packs online. A red light blinked faintly. I stepped back. What's that for? Cassandra's expression didn't change. Security. But the way her eyes flicked toward the living room told me everything. I was already being filmed, every word twisted for Eden's story. I turned and walked away before the police could be called again. From the sidewalk, I looked up at the dark window that used to glow gold on Sunday evenings. For the first time, it felt like a stranger's house. That night, I sent copies of everything to Mr. Linton. The audio recordings, the fake emails, the photos of unfamiliar cars, even screenshots of Sophie's messages hinting at property filings. He called the next morning. This is building a picture, Ida. It's not enough yet, but it's something. Keep documenting. Don't confront her again. Let her trap herself. Trap herself? I asked bitterly. She already did, and Grandma's inside it. A few days later, Mrs. Patterson texted me a photo she'd taken through her window. It showed Eden walking to her car with two men in dark suits, one carrying a box labeled legal documents. The timestamp was 6:17 p.m. I sent it straight to my lawyer. He replied with 3 words that chilled me. We need urgency. That weekend, Lucas found me on the couch, staring at nothing. You've lost weight, he said softly. I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see her behind that door. Ida. He knelt beside me. I think you should tell your story publicly. Online, maybe. Force light into it. She'd never forgive me if I made a spectacle. And Eden's counting on that. I shook my head. No, not yet. I'll find another way. By Monday, I received the call that shattered the last fragile piece of normalcy I had left. Ida, Dr. Alvarez said again, his voice strained. Your grandmother was admitted to the hospital this morning. Fall in the garden, dehydrated, minor concussion. My pulse jumped. Is she okay? She's stable, but... He hesitated. Eden has listed herself as the only approved visitor. She told the staff you're a source of distress. What? I'm sorry, they won't let you in. I hung up before the sob could break free. Grandma was alive, but locked behind a wall of signatures and lies. And Eden was about to finish the trap she'd built. The next time I heard from Grandma's lawyer, Robert Shaw, his voice was shaking. Ida, I thought you should know. Your grandmother came in last week with Eden. She signed a new will. My grip tightened on the phone. A will? Yes, everything. The house, savings, heirlooms, left to Eden. My throat went dry. That's not possible. She wouldn't... I tried to speak with her privately, Robert said quietly, but she insisted Eden stay in the room. She seemed frightened, coherent, but pressured. I sat down on the edge of my bed, heart pounding so hard it blurred sound. When? 6 days ago. 6 days. 6 days ago, she still could have changed her mind. I hung up and called my lawyer. He filed for an emergency hearing on potential undue influence and elder exploitation. It was scheduled for the following week. I thought we might finally stop her. But time is what Eden knew how to manipulate best. 2 days before the hearing, Mrs. Patterson called again. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Ida, I don't want to scare you, but your grandmother fell again. I heard shouting before she went down. Eden didn't call an ambulance for nearly an hour. My chest tightened. Are you sure? I saw it, honey. When the paramedics came, Eden was out on the porch on her phone, like nothing happened. By the time I reached the hospital, it was already too late. She's been discharged, the nurse said. Family took her home. Who? Her granddaughter, Eden. She's not supposed to. The nurse shook her head, sympathy in her eyes. She insisted your grandmother wanted to leave. Said she didn't want visitors. We had to honor her wishes. I pressed both hands to the counter, shaking. Please, can you at least tell me if she's okay? She was weak, dehydrated, but stable. Stable. That word again. It felt like a lie dressed in medical scrubs. That night, I drove to the house. The windows were dark. The porch light, that beacon of my childhood, was dead. I stood in the street, half expecting the curtains to twitch, for Grandma's face to appear, for some proof she was still in there. Nothing. Only silence. I left a note under the doormat. Nona, I love you. Please call me, no matter what Eden says. When I came back the next morning, the note was gone. 4 days later, at 6:02 a.m., my phone rang. Eden's voice, calm as ice. Grandma passed away this morning. The funeral home will contact you with details. Then she hung up. No, I'm sorry, no details, just finality. I sat on the edge of my bed, gripping the phone like it was a heartbeat I could still catch. She's gone, I whispered to the empty apartment. Lucas woke instantly. What? Ida, what happened? She died. He wrapped his arms around me, but I barely felt it. The numbness came first, the disbelief later, the grief, that came in waves, sharp and relentless. The funeral home confirmed what I feared. Eden had made every arrangement: a small service, immediate cremation, no viewing. When I asked to see Grandma before, the man hesitated. "I'm sorry, Ms. Wiles. Your sister specified you're not permitted to attend the private visitation." "Not permitted?" "She's the executor. My lawyer called this same afternoon." "We can challenge that," he said, "but by the time the paperwork clears—" By the time. By the time. Every sentence about justice came wrapped in that same delay. By the time Grandma would be ash. At the funeral, Eden played the role of devoted granddaughter perfectly, dressed in black silk, face pale but tearless. When she stood at the podium, the crowd leaned in. "She was my protector," Eden said softly, voice trembling at all the right places. "In her final months, I made it my mission to be hers. Some people saw her as a bank account, but I saw her as the wonderful woman she was." Several relatives turned toward me. The accusation landed without being spoken. I didn't defend myself. I just stared at the closed urn, wondering if Grandma's ashes could still recognize the sound of my voice. Afterward, my great-aunt Ruth approached quietly. Her perfume smelled like lilacs and secrets. "I know Eden's lying," she whispered. "Gianna called me a month ago, crying. Said she didn't know who to trust anymore. She wanted to call you, but was afraid Eden would find out." I felt my knees give out, and Ruth caught my arm. "Hold on to that, Ida. She loved you. Don't you ever forget that." The estate sale was worse than the funeral. I went anyway. I needed to see, needed to know. The house was unrecognizable. Strangers moved through it like vultures, haggling over the price of her memories. The antique piano, the one she taught me Moon River on, had a neon orange sticker, $600 OBO. Her wedding china sat on a folding table next to the front door. A man in a baseball cap shook one of the plates and said, "Tiny chip, $50 max." And then there was the rocking chair, carved by my grandfather's hands, worn smooth by decades of comfort. It sat in the corner with a sign, "Sold." I felt something inside me break. Eden stood by the register, smile professional, detached. "I'm surprised you came," she said coolly. "I wanted to buy something," I said. My voice was calm, but every word tasted like blood. Her eyes glittered. "You can. Everything's for sale." She meant it literally and metaphorically. I scanned the room until I found a small, framed photo near the edge of a table. Grandma and me at my high school graduation. Her hand on my shoulder, both of us laughing. "How much for this?" I asked. Eden's smile widened. "50." I pulled a crumpled bill from my pocket. "Fine." When she handed it to me, her fingers brushed mine, cold and deliberate. "You always did overvalue sentiment." As I walked out, I overheard two realtors whispering near the door. "She's done this before," one of them said. "Remember that condo case in 21? Old client, will changed, sudden death." The other shushed her. "Not here." But the words stuck. "Done this before." I turned back, watching Eden pose beside the sold sign in the yard for a photo someone was taking, probably for the listing. Her smile was flawless, her victory complete. Except for one thing she hadn't noticed yet, the camera in my car recording every moment. The audio files, the evidence stack in Mr. Linton's office growing heavier by the day. She thought she'd erased me, but what she'd really done was leave footprints in wet cement. And one day those would harden. Grief doesn't end when the funeral does. It lingers like smoke, filling every breath, seeping into everything you touch. For weeks after Grandma's cremation, I woke to silence. No Sunday calls, no recipes texted in shaky cursive, just a hollow apartment that smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and unfinished goodbyes. Lucas tried to coax me into normalcy. "Come with me to the lake this weekend," he said one morning. "You need air." "I need justice," I whispered. But justice was slow, too slow. A month passed before I heard from Robert Shaw again, Grandma's lawyer. His voice trembled through the receiver. "Ida, I shouldn't be telling you this, but I can't let it go." "Let what go?" He took a breath. "Something about that will signing. It's been eating at me." So I hired a private investigator, on my own dime. That was the day James Carver entered my life, a man who spoke like every word weighed something. "I've seen this pattern before," he told me over coffee. "The sudden will changes, the isolation, the protective relative who takes over access. It's called inheritance hijacking." He slid a folder across the table. Inside were printouts, emails, real estate records, property search logs. "She's been pulling comps on your grandmother's address for over a year," James said. "And she wasn't just looking at this house. She had a whole portfolio of elderly clients whose properties she tracked." I flipped the pages. Then one line stopped me cold. Condo transfer. Marjorie Price. Deceased. 2021. Executor. Eden Wiles. Agent of record. Sophie Carver. Sophie. Lucas's ex. The one who'd just heard Eden was pulling comps months ago. My pulse quickened. This was the same brokerage? Same firm, James said grimly. Different victim. That woman died suddenly too. Heart failure. Sound familiar? My throat closed. You think Eden... I think she's done this before, he finished. And if we can prove a pattern, we can open a criminal case. For the first time in months, something inside me shifted. Something fierce, like oxygen catching flame. I called my lawyer. I have new evidence. Within days, the district attorney's office had copies. The investigator's report. The email records. The notes from Dr. Alvarez documenting Eden's manipulation. And just like that, the impossible happened. The DA opened a formal investigation into Eden Wiles for financial exploitation and potential wrongful death. The sale of Grandma's house was frozen pending review. For the first time, the word justice didn't sound imaginary. Eden, of course, called it harassment. Her lawyer sent a letter claiming I was a bitter, disinherited granddaughter inventing stories. But this time, it wasn't just my word. It was a chain of lies stretching back years, linked by Eden's signature. I didn't want revenge. I wanted truth. And the truth had teeth now. Then, one afternoon, Mrs. Patterson knocked on my apartment door. She was holding something, a small, sealed envelope with my name written in a trembling hand. She gave this to me, she said softly, a few weeks before she passed. Said to give it to you if something ever happened. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside was a single page, written in Grandma's careful script. My dearest Ida, I don't understand what's happening. Eden says you want to put me away, but my heart doesn't believe it. You've been nothing but good to me. If something happens to me, know that I love you. I'm scared and confused, but I love you. Your sunshine girl always, Grandma. I pressed the letter to my chest and sobbed until my ribs ached, because that was the proof I needed, not for court, but for my soul. Eden could rewrite wills, forge emails, manipulate fear, but she couldn't erase love written in her victim's own hand. When I gave the letter to my lawyer, he nodded slowly. This may not change the case, Ida, but it changes everything about her story. He was right. For months, Eden had owned the narrative. The greedy sister, the unstable granddaughter, the villain. But this letter turned the mirror. Now everyone could see the truth behind the silk smile. The investigation dragged on, as these things do. Sophie's name surfaced again and again in Eden's transactions, quietly helping her move paperwork through the system. She quit the brokerage shortly after being contacted by the DA. Lucas didn't take it well. She lied to me, he said one night. She lied to all of us. He looked at me for a long moment. Do you think they'll arrest Eden? I don't know, I said honestly. But at least now she can't pretend it didn't happen. Months later, I packed up my apartment. I couldn't stay in this town anymore. Every street corner, every grocery aisle whispered with memories. Grandma's favorite bakery, the pharmacy where I picked up her prescriptions, the park bench where she fed pigeons and told me stories about her childhood. Before I left, I visited the house one last time. It sat dark and silent, the for sale sign still staked in the yard, but with a bright red sticker now, on hold, legal review. The wind rustled the grass, and for the first time, it didn't sound cruel. It sounded like exhale. I took the photo I'd bought at the estate sale, the one of us laughing on my graduation day, and placed Grandma's letter behind it in the frame. Then I whispered to the house, I did what I could, Nona. I couldn't save you, but I told the truth. And maybe, somewhere beyond all this noise, she heard me. Lucas helped load the last box into the car. Where will you go? He asked. Anywhere with sunlight, I said. Somewhere new. He smiled faintly. Your grandma would like that. I think so too. Before driving away, I texted Mrs. Patterson one last time. If anyone else ever goes through what I did, someone isolated, confused, being poisoned by lies, call me. Don't wait. Because silence was the soil Eden grew in, and I wasn't letting another seed take root. The case is still ongoing. Maybe Eden will face charges. Maybe not. But the pattern is exposed, her name documented, her shadow finally traced in ink. And as for me, I'm not the broken girl outside a locked door anymore. I'm the woman who learned that love, even betrayed, leaves a trail the greedy can't erase. Some truths don't need a verdict. They just need a witness. And I'll be that witness. Always.